So I outlined a few different points here that we're going to go over. First, I'm going to show you how to format all of your data correctly. Then we will calculate price returns, volatility, and different moving averages for those metrics. We will also find extreme values and statistics using different functions. And then first step of data visualization is getting into conditional formatting, and then we will plot some charts and all of that stuff. I also wrote down a few of the common statistical functions that I'm sure you'll be using a lot if you do any kind of data analysis. These are really simple, but I just wanted to write them down so you would have them in mind. So if you have the file, you will already have your data downloaded, but if not, you can go to File, Import, and upload your data there. And now we can go ahead and start formatting our data. So first things first, we need to fix our headings up here. So instead of time, we need date. I'm going to go ahead and capitalize these other things here. You don't have to do that. I just like doing it. But in column A, we have daily data, right? But we have some extra timestamps that we don't really need since it's daily data. We can delete the timestamp by highlighting it and just deleting it. Go to the second cell, doing the same thing. Now we can highlight column A, except for these three cells, delete the extra data, and now we can double click on this bottom right corner and it will auto fill in all the dates. So it will autofill if you have data on the right or left of the column. If you don't, then it will not work. So if you try to do it over here, it wouldn't work. We can highlight A again, go to Format, Number, and then go to Date. And we can also format our open, high, low, close as a currency as well as volume. So highlight B through F, Format, Number, currency. I like to do rounded because we really don't need the extra decimal points whenever we're working with big numbers like this. So that should all be set now. We can highlight A through F, right click up here, resize columns, and then fit to data. I like to do that just to make it look a little cleaner. So now we need to get into our calculations now that we have all of our data formatted correctly. You just want to make sure you format all of your data. That way you don't run into any issues and then have to try to figure out, what you did wrong or where the issue's at. So it's just a good idea to do that as a first step. Now we can go ahead and get into the calculations, and we're going to use those 5 statistical functions that I mentioned earlier to actually do those calculations. First thing though, we need to make our headings. So we can do returns, volatility. We can take a 20-period moving average for price and volume. So 20 MA price, 20 MA volume. And now we can go ahead and get into the calculation. So for price returns, for daily price returns, you need to take today's close divided by yesterday's close minus 1. So since we're going to be using 2 different daily closing prices, we cannot insert this in the first cell. So we need to go down 1. We can type the equal sign. We'll take today's close divided by yesterday's close minus 1. Now we can highlight this, double click the bottom right corner to autofill that in. And for volatility, we need to take the high minus the low divided by the open. So we can go to this first cell right here under volatility, equal sign. We will take, actually we need to open parentheses, take the high minus the low, close parentheses, and then divide by the open. You need to drag this down 1, just like that. You just highlight this cell and drag down 1, and then you can autofill that in. You couldn't because you did not have a value to the right or left of that there. So now we can take G and H, format, number, and then go to percent. Now we have daily returns and the daily range as a percentage. So basically volatility. So now for our moving averages, we need to use the average function, and we need to go down to the 20th closing price, right? Since we're doing a 20-period moving average for price. So we can use column E, right? And we need to go down to the 20th date. So it'll actually be the 21st row since we have headings up here. So that's right here. And we will go average. And we will take those 20 closing prices. And you just click enter. And you can double click here and it will autofill in all of the rest of the data. So now you have a 20-period moving average for each day. And we can do the same thing for volume. We do equal sign average and take the 20 values for volume. And now we can autofill that down. So now we've used some simple statistical functions to get daily returns, daily volatility, and then calculate two different moving averages. So it's really not that difficult, right? It was pretty simple. We can highlight G through J, right click, resize, fit to data. And I'm just going to extend this out just a little bit. So yeah, now that we have some simple calculations, basically the first steps into our data analysis, now we can find some extreme values and different statistics. So we need to create a table over here. So I'm just going to create a few different things here. We can look at the total number of days that we have. So total dates, yearly high, yearly low. And now we can also look at the percentage away from the yearly high and the yearly low. So I'm going to double click this here to resize that to fit all of that text in there. And so I'm going to create a border for all of this here. I'm going to go down one and we can look at some different stuff. Let's look at volume and volatility. We can look at max volume to find the highest volume day of the year, min volume, max volatility, min volatility. You can also create some borders for this, just kind of separate it. And then we can also look at stuff like year-to-date returns, average daily volume, average daily volatility. Okay, now that we have our table set up, we can get into actually finding these different values. So in total dates here, we need to use the count function. And remember, the count function only counts numerical values. So it will ignore all text, for example, like date here. So we can do equal sign count and use column A and click enter. So now we can see very quickly that we have 333 total dates that we're working with here. For the yearly high, we can use the max function. So we can do equals max, and we can use the high here in column C. And same thing for the yearly low. We just use the min price and use the low column here in D. So now we can see that the highest price of the year is 19,547, and the lowest price of the year is 3,596. That's a pretty big difference. You can also see that we are near our all-time high price for Bitcoin. So that's pretty awesome to see. Now we can look at the percentage from the yearly high and yearly low. So what we need to do here is actually we need to take the current close. So we can do equals open parentheses. We can take the close price of E here, or in column E, excuse me. This is the current one, right? Scroll back up, and we can do minus the yearly high, close parentheses, divided by the yearly high. And now for the low, we can do equal sign, open parentheses, and we can do, let's see, we'll take the close, the most recent close, excuse me, minus the yearly low, close parentheses, divided by the yearly low. Now we need to format these two as a percentage. And so we can already see some interesting stats here. We can see that we are near the yearly high right now because we are only 8.8% down from the yearly high. We are very far away from the yearly low. As you can see, we are 395% above the yearly low. So that's really awesome to see. Been a great year for Bitcoin so far. Now we can move on to volume and volatility. We can use the max and min functions. So max, we do open parentheses, and we will use the volume here. So now we take min, and we can do volume as well. So we can see Bitcoin, on Bitcoin's lowest volume day, it only did $461 million in volume. And on its highest volume day, it traded over $9 billion in volume. So that's a huge difference. It's just interesting to see where those two extreme metrics lie at, really. We can also look at volatility in the same way. So the highest volatility day of the year, and we can use the volatility column here in H, and then use the min function again in volatility. And you can see that the highest volatility day of the year was 52.4% as a daily range, and the lowest was 1.1%. So another huge difference here. It's pretty crazy that Bitcoin traded within a 52% range in one day. That's just crazy. So yeah, now we can look at year-to-date returns and also some average daily stats. So for year-to-date returns, we need to take the recent close divided by the yearly open minus 1. So we can do equal sign. We can take the most recent close here. We can divide that by the yearly open and minus that by 1. We can format that as a percentage. So you can see that Bitcoin is currently up 148% on the year. Now using the average function, we can do average, and we can do daily volume here, and then average again for volatility. And we can see that the average daily volume for Bitcoin on BitMEX here that we're using XBT-USD data is $2 billion, and the average daily volatility is 5.18%. So those are already a few key metrics that are really good to just know off of your head. Really, these average daily volume and volatility, those will come in handy very often. So yeah, now that we have formatted our data correctly, calculated returns, volatility, and our moving averages, we have found some extreme values and statistics using different statistical functions. Now we can go ahead and get into conditional formatting and then wrap it up with data visualization and just showing you how to create a chart. So for conditional formatting, we will start with returns. And conditional formatting basically just changes the format of each cell based on the value within the cell. So for example, if we have a daily return of negative 3.3%, we would like to see that as a red color. A daily return of 5.6%, we would like to see green. So that's what you can do with conditional formatting, and you can set up all kinds of different rules for it. So what we can do is go to highlight G, or your returns column, go to Format, Conditional Formatting. And so what you're actually going to do is switch from single color to color scale. And then I like using the red to white to green. And so what we can do here is, now that we know, excuse me, sorry, I was caught off guard by a text message. Okay, so we can do, I like using 3% as a threshold. So above 3%, you will see the darkest green color, and below 3%, you will see the darkest red color. So in between is a lighter of the two, and then at obviously at 0% return, you will see a white background. So what we can do here is take the min value, right, as a number. We need to put it as a number, excuse me, min point as a number. And we can do negative 0.03 because that is 3%. We can leave the percentile at 50, and then we can do the max point here as a number, and we can do 0.03%. Or excuse me, 0.03, and that will be a 3%. So we click done, and now that we can see on days which we have returned below negative 3%, we see the darkest red. Above 3% is the darkest green. Then we can see on days that are close to 0, it's basically white. And then obviously in between 0 and negative 3, you get lighter red. 0 and 3, you get lighter green. So that's a pretty easy way to visualize your data already, just off of a simple conditional formatting rule. We can also do the same thing for volatility to show like key outliers, and if we got any days above or below the average daily volatility. It's always good to keep that stuff in mind. So what we want to do is highlight row H. We can go to Format, Conditional Formatting. We can go from single color to color scale. I like using the white to yellow option. And we can change the max value up here. I like doing it as orange. And then sorry, I actually need to change all of this to percentage real quick, because we're going to use the average daily percentage as a filter here to set up some of our different rules. So since we know that our average daily volatility is 5.18%, we can use that as our midpoint. So for our midpoint, we can do 5.18. And so basically, we can just do, like, I would say 10% as our max point, basically double the average. Just a little bit shy of that. But so this basically shows us that, sorry, let me go back to this. This basically shows us that if the cell is yellow, we can actually change that to a lighter yellow. So if the cell is yellow, that's going to be on point with the average daily volatility. If it is a darker yellow or more orange, you can see that it's above the average. And if it is lighter or more white, then you can see that it is below the daily average volatility. So I hope that makes sense. That's just some simple rules that you can set up for conditional formatting and just really easy data visualization. So, and you can adjust those colors or whatever you really want to do. And we can actually do the same thing for volume as well. So we can highlight F, Format, Conditional Formatting, Color Scale. Change all of these to percentage real quick. Actually, no, we don't need percentage. We need numbers. So we can take our average daily volume here, of 2 billion. So we'll just do 2. That's 2 billion. We can copy this, paste it, and basically change it from 2 billion to 4 billion. And this will be 0. We can keep that as 0. And I'm going to change this to some blue. So here we have the darker colors showing a day where we had higher than average volume, excuse me. The lighter blue is below average volume. So yeah, that's about all we need for conditional formatting. You can play around with those different rules, and you can set them up pretty much any way you can think of. I can try to touch on those a little bit more in the next episode and show you how you can kind of do it a little bit more in detail and find different metrics that way. So yeah, now that we've done all of this stuff, we have formatted our data correctly. We have calculated returns, volatility, moving averages. We found extreme values with statistical functions. We started our data visualization process with some conditional formatting. And now I will show you how to plot a price chart. So first off, we need to highlight A. We will do the closing price, and we will do volume. So you highlight those 3 columns, go to Insert and Chart. Give it a second, and then you should have a chart pop up. So I'm just going to make this real big real quick. And you might be saying, okay, now where is price? So all you see is volume. Here's a line chart. I'm going to switch the chart type from this line chart to a combo chart here, excuse me. And we can go into Customize, go into Series real quick. We want to click on the volume, change it to line, sorry, excuse me, and we need to change that to the right axis. So now we can see that, sorry, I just wanted to change that real quick. Now we can see that we have price as a line here, and you can see that it's on the left axis with the dollar signs, and then the right axis, bigger values for volume, still within a dollar sign, and then below we have all the dates, and we need to change this heading up here. So you can just double click on this. Now we're just going to do Bitcoin price versus volume. And there you go. I mean, it's really not hard to create a quick visualization. If you want to make this chart look a lot better, we could do some stuff like, formatting it all different and applying some different styles. So I'm just going to play around with this real quick, and you can just kind of see how I do it. And let's see, we can do red. But yeah, this is just the very beginning steps in data visualization. I just wanted to show you how to create a price chart. That way you could get started in this. So yeah, guys, I mean, that pretty much sums up this beginning tutorial. I hope you guys learned a few things on simple data analysis and how it can really help out your analysis process instead of just doing everything on a price chart in TradingView or just subjective technical analysis. I feel like every trader, if you want to be a serious trader, you got to take data into consideration and really start working with data more often. Kind of take the theory and guesswork out of everything and try to find some actual answers within the data for all the questions that you have about your different trading strategies and all of that. So like I said, I will follow this video up with a more in-depth tutorial on data analysis and visualization. I will show you how to do a lot more with Google Sheets and all the charts inside of it. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And like I said, you can find the full worksheet or spreadsheet, excuse me, in the description as well as the data that I've used. So Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like if you did, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Thanks.